All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Scott Delandy. I am with Dell Technologies, and I am part of the storage division based out of corporate headquarters in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. And today, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, and that is traditional, high-end, external storage. So here we are at VMware, and I know that there's a lot of discussions around different deployment options for storage. A lot of people looking at hyper-converged, a lot of people looking at software-defined. But what I can tell you is that we've talked to many customers that still continue to rely on traditional storage infrastructure for their mission-critical applications. So it is definitely something that's not going away and something that actually we're seeing people continue to invest in. And what I want to do is I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about what some of those reasons are in terms of why people continue to invest heavily in that part of the infrastructure. And then I want to show you some of the cool new features that we've introduced to help make your VM environments not just more efficient, but more reliable, more stable, and provide higher levels of availability. So let's get started, right? So from a platform perspective, when you look at the things that people do with PowerMax, one of the big ones is the ability to consolidate, okay? At the high end, we have users out there that put dozens, hundreds, in some cases thousands of ESX clusters on a single storage array. So that gives them the ability to scale into thousands, tens of thousands of virtual machines. And one of the big drivers for that type of a deployment is the ability to consolidate and standardize the way the storage infrastructure is being managed across all of those applications and across all of those different workloads, right? So still continues to be one of the strong value points that we have with traditional infrastructure for storage with things like PowerMax. The second reason is because of the ability to provide better performance, and not just high performance because of all flash goodness, but performance that's very predictable and very consistent. So whether you're booting up VMs, or whether you're moving things around, or whether you're seeing applications spiking in terms of activity and workload, we're able to drive consistent, predictable levels of performance because of the flash technology that we have under the covers. One of the things that I hear very common from users out there that have all flash systems deployed in their environment is the day-to-day management of those systems is basically boring. Right? The old days of having to go in and do performance tuning and analysis and tweaking the environment and playing with tiering policies and things like that, it just doesn't exist. So in a lot of cases, the amount of administration required for these systems is a fraction of what it used to be. So if you're a storage admin out there, you've got a lot more free time on your hands, hopefully, to focus on other things that are important to the business. The third thing is around data efficiency, okay? We've introduced a range of space efficiency technologies, things like data reduction with dedupe and compression, but there's also other space efficiency technologies, things like thin provisioning, things like snapshots, the ability to do zero space reclaim, which allow us to be able to present much more capacity to the applications and to the host than what's actually physically required within the array. The fourth reason is around availability. Right? When you look at the systems and the redundancy and the serviceability and just the high availability features that we build into the platform, it really is one of the big trusted components within the environment to be able to support your most mission critical types of applications. Now when it comes to VMware, we've got a number of integration points. We've invested actually heavily over many years to make sure that deploying PowerMax and VMax in environments with VMware, we can plug in very seamlessly, very transparently as part of that overall ecosystem. A couple things that I want to point out here. So for years we've had VAAI integration, which basically allows us to take things that would normally run at the host level, at the cluster level, and offload that off onto the storage array, freeing up resources on the host, one thing, but more importantly, taking advantage of the array-based features that are optimized for doing things like copying data around, for things like being able to go in and reclaim space as you're deleting things out of the environment. So these are real important things that we're able to do. The other thing that we've done recently with this latest release is we've introduced a new version of Unisphere, which is our user interface into the storage array. One of the things that we've always done is we've had the ability to basically look into the VM environment and drill down into the individual VMs for things like reporting, for masking views, for understanding performance metrics, to do troubleshooting. So these are things that we've always had the ability to do, but one of the new features is how we can actually plug into that and being able to do that at a much broader level. So rather than having to go in and add in individual VMs to be under Unisphere control, we now have the ability to do that at the ESX cluster or even at the vCenter level. So it's much more easier to be able to take large environments and to use Unisphere as a way of being able to get visibility into what's happening on the virtual side. One of the new features that we introduced, actually not new anymore I should say, is this feature around SRDF Metro. So that's our remote replication solution, and we've had remote replication available for a number of years. What's different about this is we no longer run active-passive when doing replication. What we now can do is we can run active-active. So this gives us the ability to have both sites being able to access data simultaneously. So if something happens at one location or another, the time recovered to failover is much faster, and the recovery point in terms of data loss is 0. Right? But there's some other things that we're able to do with Metro, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring up one of our corporate systems engineers, Mr. James Salona, to come in and show you guys. Who wants to see a demo? All right, here we go. Let's we'll geek out with a demo. So what we have here is we've got an environment set up in the lab. And we've got two VMax systems, actually a PowerMax and a VMax system in this environment, and we're using SRDF Metro to replicate over about 26 miles of distance between the two sites. So James, what are we going to look at here?
So we're looking at, right now we're looking at the vCenter client, and what we're going to do is we'll take a quick look at what's going on here. Again, we have those two data centers, right, surprisingly right about a marathon apart. So we have Boston, it's got a cluster there, and we have Hopkinton.
So talk about what you do in your lab environment. What are some of the things that go on inside the lab?
So we do a lot of demos, POCs. We're constantly kind of playing around with different equipment, and a lot of that requires a lot of maintenance. So I'm often migrating VMs from one site to the other to do some standard maintenance.
It's a very dynamic environment. You're moving equipment out, you're moving equipment in, you're making upgrades, you're doing certification testing, you've got all these types of things.
Yeah.
So why do you guys use SRDF Metro?
Well, it makes my life just a little bit easier. I think so when we first started, when I was migrating VMs the old-fashioned way, we're looking at about 3 hours or so. And now with SRDF Metro and SRM, now it's down to total 3 minutes.
Total 3 minutes, and that's all the administration time as well,
yeah.
Right? So one of the things that you're able to do is now, because you've got SRDF Metro, when it comes time to move something from one cluster to another cluster, the ability to have Metro actually move that data for you while keeping that application up and running means that you're going from hours in terms of move time down to minutes, actually in some cases sub-minutes to be able to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so show us how it works.
Huge benefits there. So we'll jump into Site Recovery Manager over here. So we'll jump into that. So this is going to link us to the new one. So we open this.
So one of the things that's important I want to point out here is the fact that you're doing all of this and you're doing it through vCenter using Site Recovery Manager. So you're not going outside of the VMware management tools in order to make this happen. Part of the reason why we're able to do that is we have an SRA, a storage replication adapter, that understands SRDF Metro running active-active under the covers. It's really one of the only and the first SRA adapters to be able to support active-active replication. Exactly. And that's why you can control all of this from vCenter.
Nope, I'm not jumping between the management interfaces, nothing like that. It's all clicks within the same UI. So like Scott said, in Boston, we have our all-new PowerMax 8000, and in Hopkinton, we have a VMax 250F, which is an all-flash system. So we'll look at, earlier on, we created the protection group. That's kind of the policy in place for what we want to do in the event of a failure or in a planned migration.
And just so to understand, how long did it take you to set up that SRDF Metro relationship?
I mean, I was using Unisphere, so it's just a couple of clicks.
So a couple clicks.
Not a process,
right.
Not at all.
So if you've used the replication tools in the past, you may have been experienced to the world where you needed kind of a PhD in terms of the technology to understand it, but it's changed greatly with the latest management tools.
It's very easy, yep. And with the new HTML5 Unisphere, it makes life even easier. So we'll take a look at this. We want to see, we set up this recovery policy. Boston is our protected site, and we're going to be migrating over to Hopkinton. So we'll click on this, we'll go here, and what we're going to do is run this. And this is going to automate all that migration from Boston to Hopkinton. And here, why SRDF Metro is so good is because right here we can click that, and we're going to be leveraging vMotion. So we're not going to be powering up those VMs, moving to a new data store, because as far as this cluster is concerned, it's just a single devices.
And from here, if I wanted to do a failover, I could go in and I could select that environment. Yeah. And what that would do is that would basically restart the applications all at one of the other sides. So right here, you're just doing a move.
Exactly. So if we had some sort of disaster, but this is a planned migration just for some maintenance. Okay. Next, this is just asking you all the finalizations of it. Finish this. It's going to happen. It already has that failover plan in place, so it's going to start that. It's relocating the virtual machines. Again, we're not turning anything off. We're just moving them over. We're going to rescan the HBAs, rescan the data center, the VMFS.
And this is all basically happening in real time. I understand it's not a live demo, but the recording and the time that it takes to do this is basically what you would experience as a user.
Exactly. And just to get some of the final, more details about the steps that are going on, you can see at step number 10, we're skipping shutting down the protected VMs because this is using vMotion.
So everything's up and running.
Yep. And so that's it. We're migrated over to the new site. What we want to do right now is reinstantiate that protection plan that we created earlier, just to make sure if anything happened while we're doing maintenance, we can still migrate over to the other side. So set that up, finish that again. Just like you said, Scott, we're in the same UI. We're not jumping between Unisphere 1 or 2 or anything like that. Let this go. And at this point, once this completes, this is where I would do any sort of maintenance I need. If I want to do some DIMM replacements, if I want to
upgrade the servers, removing the servers, putting in a new server, whatever you want to do, right?
Exactly, whatever I need. So once I'm done, so let's say I did that, got my maintenance set, I can just do run, and we're going to do the exact thing in reverse.
So we're going to fail everything back.
Yep, we're going to migrate it over. And then next, we're using vMotion again.
Boom, and we're all set. All right, so really, really cool, James. So if you guys want to see some more about this, where would we point them?
So we're gonna be in the booth all day today, and you can go on Google, do a Google search on SRDF Metro and VMware. We've got some blog posts, we've got some white papers, everything you need.
Yeah, so if you want some more information, come by, talk to us, go out there, do some research. But this is a product that we've had for a while, and we've got a lot of users that have this deployed in their environment, so it works well. So, again, if you're interested in finding out some more information, please come talk to us. We want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging with us today, and we'll go ahead and we'll see you hopefully soon.
Thanks, everyone.